Welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Braun, Director of the University of Texas at Arlington OSHA Education Center. We're happy to have you all here today. We're presenting this Ladder Safety Symposium in support of the National Ladder Safety Month, and March is that month. This is the 25th anniversary of this event, and it was created to generate and raise awareness of ladder safety and to decrease the number of ladder-related injuries and fatalities. The National Ladder Safety Month is sponsored by the American Ladder Institute, and it's the only program created to raise awareness of ladder safety and to decrease the number of ladder-related injuries and fatalities. And the goals of the National Ladder Safety Month are to raise awareness of ladder safety, decrease injuries and fatalities caused by ladders misuse, and increase the number of people certified in ladder safety training. And that safety training is available free on their website. And today I'm going to be joined by a member of the American Ladder Institute representing the Little Giant ladder systems, Dave Francis. He's the National Safety Director for Little Giant. And he will be taking us to his studio and give a presentation that I think you'll find interesting. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you some information about the session today. We will be recording the session and make it available to you as a recording. You will be muted, but you can ask your questions by typing in your questions in the Q&A, and we will have some time at the end to answer your questions at the end of the session. So let me just get started here. Introductions. I'm Bob Braun, and we'll talk about ladder safety, and then Dave Francis from Little Giant is going to give us a presentation on ladder safety. Just some statistics. CDC had a report that they put together some years back looking at incidents, and they showed 161 workplace fatalities from ladders, almost 23,000 workplace injuries from ladders, and almost 6,000 ladder injuries in the installation and maintenance and repair jobs, and a little over 5,000 ladder injuries in construction and extraction jobs, and over 3,000 ladder injuries in service jobs. That's not to even account for the ones in the home area, because we all use ladders somewhere, some fashion, someplace. So the good news is, and was reported by the American Ladder Institute, was that ladder-related accidents and incidents are on the decline, with a 21% decrease from that time in 2020 to 2024. So good news, and I hope that events like this and the other events sponsored by the American Ladder Institute are helpful in reducing those. And more people are conducting ladder safety training and inspecting the ladders and doing the right thing. So hopefully this will give you the impetus and I think some interesting backgrounds on ladder safety. And Dave always does a great job. So I know you are interested in some of the issues that we'll go through, and Dave will cover a lot of this, but these are the primary causes. Incorrect extension ladder setup angle. In fact, about 40% of the cases are due to incorrect extension ladder setup, and I know Dave will cover that. And inappropriate ladder selection, choosing the wrong tool, not the proper size or proper duty rating, and I know he's going to speak to that. And then insufficient ladder inspection, which is, I think, the first step is make sure you inspect the ladder before you use it. And then improper ladder use, not using the ladder properly. So I know you'll learn some basic facts about ladders today and their safe use during this session. And these are the basic tenets that will raise your awareness and help you prevent injuries. And just like any tool, using the right tool and using it the right way is fundamental for achieving safety. So you also learn about some of the design features, I think, that I find very interesting anyway, that are available in ladders that you may not be aware of. And I think you'll find this presentation both educational and interesting. So let's get started. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Dave Francis from Little Giant. Let me stop sharing and we'll transfer control. You're on, Dave.
Bob, thank you. I hope there we go.
We got you.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're not disappointed that this isn't a PowerPoint presentation. Little Giant cheated a little bit in that we built these beautiful studios. This is in our factory in Springville, Utah. So we're about an hour south of Salt Lake City, and this gorgeous, today was a snowy morning, and we built the studios right in our factories. Little Giant's a 52-year-old company, manufacturing ladders here in the United States, and the studio is built right in our building. We've got multiple camera angles, professional miking, professional lighting, and then a professional control room. Paxton in the other room runs the boards, and what we've done is kind of hijacked the Zoom signal, run it through a mixer, done everything we do with it, and then push it back into the Zoom system, something that I didn't think Zoom wanted us to do, but it makes for a more interactive presentation. Today, we're going to talk about several different topics. We're going to talk about ladder inspection and the 4 points of basically what you need to do to be safe on ladders. But we also want to spend a lot of time on statistically how do ladder accidents happen on job sites, and what can we do, what's the best practice to prevent those typical ladder accidents from happening. And then we want to talk about some of the trends in the industry. You've heard terms like ladders last from some of the big GCs. What does that mean to the ladder industry? You've heard people say, we're not going to use A-frame ladders anymore, we're going to switch to platform ladders. What does that mean? What does that look like? So we want to talk about some of the trends, leaning A-frames, platforms, things of that nature, so that we're kind of covering everything that's happening in the ladder industry. You wouldn't think that we could talk about ladders for very long, but there's a lot going on here. You're aware falls continues to be number one in almost every industry with OSHA. It's so serious. We kind of like to talk about, set it up, why we talk about ladder safety as much as we do. And I get sent crazy pictures probably weekly, but over the years, and if you've heard me talk before, this has always been my favorite picture because it tells too many stories. These guys are trained, they have the right PPE, they probably have the right ladder on their truck. They just got creative to try to save a little bit of time. But we're talking about multiple OSHA fines, multiple possible injuries, and even some possible lawsuits because of the lady coming up the stairs if she gets pulled into their shenanigans. So when we talk about ladder safety, creativity is the enemy of safety. Here's another one of my favorites. These are framers, and we know framers will do just about anything to get the job done, get on to the next job. But if you look at the guy on the ladder, he's actually stocking-footed. The guy on top of him has shoes. So I don't know how they thought that was going to work out, but obviously not the way OSHA recommends that we do things. It is so serious that 4 of the top 10 OSHA violations are work at height related. Fall protection, of course, number 1. You can go past any job site and see guys on the roof without the harnesses and lanyards. Ladders jumped from 5 up to 3, and then scaffolding and training are up on that list, so 4 of the top 10. More critically, though, is the fatal 4. OSHA tracks fatalities, and falls is by far the number one cause of fatalities. Of course, OSHA doesn't track automotive accidents in this accident because that's DOT, but fatalities from falls and is right up there with fatalities in car crashes. And so we think that we need to spend a little bit more time talking about working at height because it is the number one cause of injury and fatality in your job site. So let's jump into it and talk about some of the basics first. These are things that you should know, you should be teaching. Every individual that uses a ladder on the job site should be trained or shall be trained by their employer. So employers shall provide training for every single person. So this isn't something that you just can take for granted that somebody coming in to work on a job site knows how to use a ladder correctly. We want to run over the basics, and we can break it down into 4 very simple categories. Number 1, we want to choose the right ladder for the job. Want to make sure that we're using the right piece of equipment. Then we want to inspect that ladder to make sure that it's in like new condition. If we do those 2 things, we're eliminating the ladder as a possible cause of the accident. Now it's up to decisions we make, so we're going to talk about proper setup. That's something that we decide, and then how we're going to climb that ladder. So the first 2, we're going to eliminate the ladder. The second 2, we're going to talk about our personal actions when we climb. When we're choosing the right ladder for the job, choose a ladder. And that sounds silly when I say it that way, but when I show you this picture, you completely understand what I mean. Time after time after time, I see people standing on things that are not ladders to try to work at heights. We've all done it. We've all stood on a desk. We've all stood on a chair. We've all stacked something up so that we could climb up and get something done. Stop what you're doing. Go out in the garage. Go out in the shed. Get Grandpa's ladder. Drag it in. Don't stand on that bar stool that spins around to try and get that job done. Choose a ladder. Ladders come in fiberglass, aluminum, and wood. There are no more wood manufacturers, so if you have a wood ladder, it's an antique. Generally, ladders in the United States are aluminum, shiny silver material, or fiberglass, which will be a color, a yellow or an orange or a green. Why do we default to fiberglass? Well, fiberglass is non-conductive. So the majority of ladders used for homeowners, the lightweight, inexpensive ladder that a homeowner would buy, are going to be aluminum ladders. The ladders that we see on job sites are fiberglass because they're non-conductive. Well, people ask me all the time, those rungs sure look aluminum. How is that ladder non-conductive? Well, the side rails are non-conductive. The climber is insulated from the shock or grounded in the shock. So all fiberglass ladders will have aluminum rungs. There's just a very few specialty ladders used in turbine engine power that are completely made of fiberglass, but they're very rare and very expensive. You're grounded through the side rails. Okay, weight rating. Weight ratings start at 200 pounds. Those are homeowner weight ratings, lightweight, flimsy. Don't put them on a job site. It doesn't say construction and industrial until 250. But I want to talk about why we recommend you have 375-pound rated ladders on your job site. You've seen guys on job sites, and I'm getting up there, but the weight that is supposed to be on the ladder is not the weight that you tell people you are. It's the weight that the scale says that you are. Not the weight from your driver's license, but the weight on the scale. Then adding your PPE, adding your clothing in a cold place, any tool belt, anything you're carrying up, it's pretty easy for some of the guys on a job site to get over the 300-pound mark. And if they're over 300, then we need to jump up to a 1AA 375-pound rated ladder. We'll talk a little bit more about that rating in a second, but make sure that what you're wearing, what you're carrying is under the rating on the ladder, and that label is clearly visible to read. Now, style of ladder is important. This is a step ladder or an A-frame ladder. Looks like a big capital A. The standard calls this a self-supporting ladder because it stands in the middle of the room. You can also have a straight extension ladder. Those are also referred to as non-self-supporting or lean-to, depending on where you're from. And then multi-purpose are ladders that will telescope or bend from shape to shape. Little Giant actually invented the multi-purpose style of ladder 52 years ago. And those are designed specifically to go into stairs. But ladders are meant to be used for the purpose for which they were designed. So make sure that you're using the ladder for the purpose that it was designed. For forever and ever, we told people never close an A-frame and lean it against the wall. Well, why? Well, old A-frames, Grandpa's A-frame, the back legs would swing open and contact the ground and throw your balance off. The top cap was just a black plastic cap. It didn't have any grip. So ladder companies, all ladder companies in the United States right now, make a leaning A-frame because workers just have to get in all of these really tight, hard to get in areas. So we designed our newer A-frames to lean. The way to do that is have this pad here at the top cap that's going to support the ladder. Now, if you're not going to a flat surface, that's going to flip around. And now that's going to go to corners and studs and poles so that the top of the ladder is really going to grab a hold. Know that because there are newer ladders that can lean in the A-frame position, that doesn't mean your old grandpa ladder can now be leaned. Make sure that it's clearly stated on the label that it's a leaning A-frame ladder, but that's really a great way to get into a lot of the hard to reach places. Let's talk about the size of the ladder now. This is a 6-foot A-frame. OSHA says don't stand on the top cap, don't stand on the top step. So on a 6-foot A-frame, I'm really standing 4 feet off the ground if I'm using the ladder correctly. Average height and reach of a worker is going to give you an extra 6 feet. So from a 6-foot ladder, I can safely work around 10 feet. If I need to work higher than that, I need an 8-foot or a 12-foot step ladder. Just know that you're going to need to stand 2 feet from the top so that you have something to lean into and maintain balance and control. And you're going to add another 6 feet from that standing surface in order to get your working height. What about straight extension ladders? If you go to the store right now and you buy a 20-foot extension ladder, that ladder is going to be 20 feet of ladder side rail. So you're going to get two 10-foot sections of side rail that add up to 20 feet. And we clearly mark it on the label, 20 feet of ladder. But that's not how you use it, right? To use those two sections together, you're going to have 3 feet of overlap. So a 20-foot ladder that you buy in the store is only going to be 17 feet long in the usable position. And then OSHA says 3 feet above the roof line. So now I'm going to a 20-foot roof line. I'm 3 feet shorter and I need 3 feet extra. I need 6 extra feet. So I need a 28-foot ladder to go to a 20-foot high roof line. So why is that? I'm going to jump to that in a minute. Sorry, I'm talking to Paxton in the control room. In order to gain height with a ladder, don't pick it up with a forklift. Don't stack it on boxes, barrels. Don't climb up on the railing of any ladder. Just not the safe way to use the ladder. Don't straddle or sit on it. And please don't try to put it up on tables to try and gain extra height. The ladder is rated at 300 pounds, but the tables or barrels that you put that ladder on are not rated for that 300 pounds or that position. Never try to tie two ladders together. You just don't have strong enough duct tape or wire or rope to try to put two ladders together to make the right ladder for the job. If you don't have a big enough ladder, stop what you're doing. Sorry, go back to the shop, get the right size ladder. If you're at home, go across the street, meet your neighbor, and borrow his. Get that done. Don't try to create something. Again, I've said this before, creativity is the enemy of safety. So we've chosen the right ladder for the job. The right material, fiberglass, the right weight rating, 300, 375, the right style, and then the right height. Now that we've got the right ladder for the job, we need to inspect it. And inspection in the standard is a little tricky, and I get asked this in the questions a lot, so I'm going to try and jump ahead of it. Ladders need to be inspected when you first receive the ladder, when you first buy it. Ladders are damaged in transportation most frequently, so we see ladders being damaged just being delivered to the customer. They need to be inspected at the start of every shift or before each use. And they need to be inspected regularly and periodically by somebody who's in authority and has the power to do something about that, a bad inspection. So that's usually interpreted as a manager or somebody from the safety department doing a detailed inspection once a year or semi-annually. We recommend an app, and so this is what the icon looks like at the App Store. This is a NIOSH developed app. It won several awards. If you go to the App Store and type in NIOSH or type in free ladder safety, it's a free download. Just navigate through the app to the inspection. As you touch the little green dots on the ladder, it tells you exactly what you're supposed to be looking for in an inspection. So it walks you through a detailed spot-by-spot inspection just using that app. You can teach a ladder safety class from the prompts of that app, go over all of the details of setup and proper climbing. So again, the NIOSH app, free of charge. We highly recommend that you get that. For a visual inspection that you do every time you climb a ladder, again, we don't need 15 minutes, but we just need a quick visual. The things that get overlooked the most are the feet. The feet of your ladder are made of a softer material, and they have tread at the bottom. That tread is designed, like the tires on your car, to grip the ground and prevent your ladder from slipping out from underneath you. If those feet are damaged, missing, or worn out, those feet can simply be replaced by removing a nut and a bolt or a couple of screws, and ladder manufacturers have stacks of new feet that you can just swap the feet out really quickly at the bottom of your ladder. Don't throw your ladder away because you have bad feet. Just get new feet. And remember, that's your connection to the ground. So we want as firm of a connection. We don't want that ladder slipping out or moving while you're climbing it. Now, the side rails of the ladder, if they're bent, broken, cracked, or split, the ladder needs to be tagged out, removed from service, and reported to a supervisor. Now, fiberglass is interesting. It's got some great properties in that it's non-conductive, but it also has some downside. When we make fiberglass, we actually use spools of fiberglass string or strand, and that's actually glass that has been spun into these threads, and that's run through a shaping die and then injected with a I can't even say that word, a plastic resin that holds all of those strands together for strength. But if the ladder is damaged, hit, or cracked to the point where you can see those fibers through the resin, so if you've dinged that corner and you can see those strands sticking out of that glass, then that cannot be fixed in the field. That needs to be tagged out, taken out of service. I don't know what that will hold. I know what fiberglass in like new condition will hold. I don't know what damaged fiberglass will hold. So the rating that we talked about earlier, that's ladder is not going to break at 376 pounds. It's actually tested at 4 times the rating. So a 375-pound rated ladder is tested at 1,500 pounds. So that's 5 very large guys on the ladder, and it's not going to break or move or bend or anything. The problem is ladders get used dynamically. Ladders get used with minor damage. Ladders get used in uneven surfaces. So we overbuild ladders by 4 times to prevent the ladder from breaking while you're standing on it. Almost never will a ladder break and cause you to fall. Almost always, the ladder's uneven or somebody overreaches, the ladder tips over and then gets bent in the fall. Of course, it happens fast and you say, well, that leg bent and caused me to fall. But when we do the inspection, it's almost always the other way around. The person falls, lands on the ladder, and bends the legs in the fall. Now, there's another property of fiberglass that's kind of a downside or a disadvantage. Everybody here has seen a ladder at the gas station in the morning on a guy's truck, somebody's truck that has faded to a pale orange or a pale yellow color. This is called fiber bloom. Fiberglass wears out in UV radiation, sunlight. And if you're in the southern United States, it's going to wear out faster. It fades starts fading almost immediately. It fades to the point of being a problem after 5 to 7 years out in the sun. So it doesn't happen immediately. And you can tell it's to the point where it needs to be replaced when you run your hand up and down the fiberglass and you can feel those fibers, or you get fiberglass splinters. So it's a tactile thing. You can kind of feel and see. If you can see the fibers, you can feel the fibers, then you know that you need to do something about it. The problem is, if the fibers are exposed, if they're sticking out of the resin, they will start wicking moisture, and those fibers wicking moisture will cause a swelling and a weak spot, or the ability for that ladder to arc electricity. So we don't want a waterlogged fiberglass ladder that's going to arc electricity when you're using a fiberglass ladder specifically to be non-conductive. So make sure that fiberglass material is in good condition. It's not faded to the point of those fibers sticking out. The rungs or steps, again, if they're bent, broken, cracked, or split, tag it out, set it aside, tell a supervisor. Don't climb ladders with damaged rungs. But you can also see that all these rungs have ridges that run side to side in the extrusion. Those are designed to hold your foot in place as you're climbing the ladder so that your foot doesn't slip off. If those are all filled in with mud and dirt and tar from the job site, clean those steps off, make sure those steps are clean and dry, and that those ridges are grabbing your foot and holding on as you climb the ladder up and down. Components of your ladder, you're going to have maybe ropes and pulleys, hinges, top caps, spreader bars. All of these things can be replaced in the field. The ladder company will have a kit with directions on how to do that in the field. But repairs to side rail, where I see people bolting 2x4s into the side of the ladder, those are not allowed. Re-welding your rungs is not allowed. I inspect people's ladders as I drive down the road. I've been doing this for over 40 years, and so when I see ladders on trucks, I pick up on the things that people do to their ladders, and then they're on their way to a job site to set these ladders up to get work done. And any one of those ladders could be the cause of an accident, because I don't know what a damaged ladder is rated for. I do know what a ladder in new condition is rated for. So make sure all of your components are in good working order. The side rails and the rungs, if they have dents, cracks, or splits, you need to take that ladder out of service. If you're going to destroy a ladder, please don't throw it, especially if you got your logo stenciled on the side of it. Don't throw that ladder in a dumpster without cutting it up. Unfortunately, there's been lawsuits in the United States where people have pulled ladders out of other companies' dumpsters and then sued that company because they didn't dispose of the ladder correctly. Don't cut your ladder through the glass. Fiberglass is very abrasive. It's going to wear out your blades really quickly. Cut it down the middle. It'll cut like butter through that aluminum and plastic and make it inclimbable at the same time. So if you're going to dispose of a ladder, make sure that you get it all the way to the dump, or that you cut it up so that it's unclimbable. You just don't want to give people access to a usable ladder in bad condition, or you're still liable for it, unfortunately. All right. We picked the right ladder for the job: fiberglass, weight rating, style, size. We've inspected it to make sure that it's in good condition: feet, side rails, rungs, components. Everything's in good working order. So now the ladder's probably not going to be the cause of the accident. Now the cause of the accident is going to be us. Decisions that we make, things that we do. Again, please do not get creative in ladder safety or in ladder setups. No matter how many old phone books you use or wood things that you build up to try to get into those hard to reach places, know that that's the first time that that setup is being used. It's never been tested before, so you're taking this huge risk of being the crash test dummy on the maiden voyage. Please don't take those risks. I know we all think that we're structural engineers in our head, But OSHA says that ladders need to be set up on stable and level surfaces. And if that's not possible, then the ladder needs to be secured or stabilized to prevent accidental displacement. What does that mean? Well, if you can set a ladder up in this condition, in a perfectly flat floor, so that it's stable and level, then I'm fine to climb just by following the rules of 3 points of contact, making sure that I just keep the rules of climbing. But when we're out on a job site, how often is the ground actually level? If the bottom of your ladder is a little off, I have people tell me all the time, I climb it over here. So you're doing a Cirque du Soleil or geometry calculation that if my ladder's that far off, I can climb it over here, and I'm just going to balance it out and stay in this thin line of my balance point. That's not the way OSHA wants to do it. What do we see on job sites that people do the most often? The most common thing I see is that people will go around the job site and Easter egg hunt for the right size piece of garbage, a scrap wood, a rock, to build a Jenga pile of death, to put their 28-foot extension ladder up. So they're going to place their safety equipment on a makeshift stack of garbage from the job site. Not the way. No one's going to argue with me that that's the preferred way to do this job. OSHA says, dig out the high side. Never build the low side up with bricks and boards. Always dig out the high side to level your ladder. This just doesn't happen very often because it's labor intensive and you just don't go around with a shovel and a level. But there's some easy solutions to how to do this. There are ladders that are designed with leveling capabilities just built right in. So in that situation of an uneven ground, you would be able to just open the leveler and level to the work surface, getting the job done quickly and safely at the same time with a very secure base at the bottom. If you need to stabilize grandpa traditional straight extension ladder, there's a lot of diagrams in the OSHA handbooks about how to build a blocking or a stake and then strapping at the top of the ladder. We want to make sure that if you're strapping at the top of the ladder for your company, don't do bungee cords to rain gutters. Make sure that you're using an engineered strap that's designed to do that work. This is especially important if the ladder is being used by multiple individuals. So if you have multiple individuals using the same ladder to gain access to the roof, that ladder needs to be secured in place so that it doesn't get dislodged in between people. So that's a key factor that we always overlook. If I'm going up on the roof, I can go up and do an inspection, come back down. If I've got 10 people going up and down, I need to make sure that that ladder isn't moving. It's got to be secured in place. So we've talked about the side-to-side angle. Let's talk about the extension ladder angle. So there's a lot of times when you're going up on the roof that you need to decide what angle your ladder is leaning against the wall or going onto the roof. We don't go too steep or the ladder will fall over this way. And most people kind of go too shallow, which means my forces are going out this way. And then the bottom of that ladder is going to kick out from underneath us. So OSHA's given us a little diagram. It's bless their hearts, for every 4 feet we go up, we come out away from the wall 1 foot, but we only measure up to where the ladder makes contact, and we come straight down from that point. So we don't measure out from the wall, we measure out from that make-believe line that comes down from the eave. I can't do geometry. I can barely do my grandkids' second grade math. So firefighters figured out a long time ago, they don't have time to do the math equation. Everybody's body is built at a 4-to-1 ratio, your height to your arms. So put your toes at the bottom of your ladder, put the palm of your hand at the side rail or rung at shoulder height, and you'll set your ladder up at 75 degrees every time. So before you climb an extension ladder, make sure that you hold your arms straight out. It only takes a second, that quick. And you can see the A-frame ladder is already set at 75 degrees. That's exactly where my hands go to set that ladder up in the proper position. Little Giant actually adds some advantages on ladders, extension ladders, where we put a bubble level on the side that tells you you're exactly at 75.5 degrees. But use the firefighter method, that's gonna get you at that 75 degrees almost every single time. When you're setting up a straight extension ladder, make sure that you're 3 feet above the roof line. We talked about that before. That's the number one cause of citation from OSHA. 50% of the citations involving ladders are just because of this one issue. So it's a red flag violation. We really need that 3 feet of ladder to hold on to as you transition on and off of a ladder. Now, if you're going up onto a roof to work, you're gonna need to be transition into a fall protection system. I don't want anybody to criticize that. She was going up for an inspection, which technically she can do without having that tie off. So if anybody's gonna call me on that, we thought ahead. Now we want to talk about proper climbing techniques. So we started climbing ladders when we were little kids. So we do things wrong that we've done our whole lives. There's 3 paragraphs in the OSHA standard that kind of go together, and they really point out what OSHA is trying to accomplish with these 3 sentences. I think the first one is maintain contact with at least one hand as you're going up and down. And I'm going to emphasize the going up and down. So that's really the 3-point of contact rule. 2 feet, 1 hand, 2 hands, 1 foot, as you go up and down. Face the ladder as you go up and down. And then never carry any bulky items, heavier bulky items that are going to cause you to lose your balance or fall as you climb. So OSHA wants you to get up and down the ladder safely, but they're talking specifically about as you're climbing up and down. Tools should be brought up in buckets or lifts, or if you can carry it up on a tool belt, that's fine. If you have a small tool in your hand, that's fine. But excessive tools needs to come up another way, bigger pieces of equipment. We don't want somebody trying to use a ladder to be a physical lift to try and get a big, heavy, awkward piece of equipment above them. That's just not the proper way to get that kind of work done. So face the ladder, 1 hand in contact at all times, and then don't carry big items up and down the ladder. But they really want you to get up and down the ladder safely. Now, what happens if I stop to do something on a ladder? Most people consider extension ladders a transitional piece of equipment where you're getting from the ground to the roof to do the work. But on an A-frame ladder, my only purpose for going up an A-frame ladder is going to be to work on something. And that something needs both hands. So a lot of the diagrams in the OSHA handbook show that you put your feet out to the edge of your rung so that you're making contact with the side of your feet, and then you're leaning your body into the ladder to maintain multiple points of contact. And the older I get, the more points of contact I seem to have. So that's not the problem for some people. But that's your points of contact when you're standing still so that you can let go and do that work. Now, if you have a corporate policy, safety policy that states 3 points of contact at all times, whether you're climbing or not climbing, that is your rule above and beyond what OSHA requires. I'll show you some solutions to how to do the work with both hands and in just a second. But I want you to remember one thing. And if you don't remember anything else of today's training, I want you to remember this one thing. Bob went over some numbers at the start of the presentation. I'm going to throw some numbers out right now that include homeowners. When we include the homeowners, the numbers drastically go up. So every single day in the United States, according to Liberty Mutual Insurance, 2,000 people will file a claim saying that they were hurt on a ladder in an emergency room. That's a big number. Of those, 100 will be permanently disabled, and more than one every single day will be a fatality. Sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, every single day, disabled or fatalities because they broke this one rule. And this is the one rule that I need you to remember. Don't do this one-legged, I'm holding onto a side rail reach that I think I can get the last little piece of tape or reach the last little nut and bolt. Overreaching combined with the ground not being level is the cause for almost all of those disabling and fatal accidents. People get hurt on ladders other ways, but the fall from height and the impact at the bottom that causes those disabilities and fatalities almost always happen because people reach outside of the side rails of the ladder. So we say, keep your belt buckle between the side rails. That's the old rule that we've always lived by. The best practice is your wingspan is your work area. If you have to lean your upper body, climb down, move the ladder over, climb back up. Takes just a few seconds to just move that ladder from position to position, climb back up, and do that work safely. Those are too serious of statistics and too big of statistics not to follow that one rule. So again, if you don't remember anything else from today, remember, don't overreach on your ladder. Climb down, move your ladder over, climb back up. I think I've got Paxton. Where's that Christmas vacation video clip? You got that handy? That's. I know we get doing a project and we want to get it done fast because we're trying to get into the game or do whatever, and we overreach. We try to get the job done by taking risks, and just follow the basic rules. Again, creativity is the enemy of safety. Please don't try to go beyond the basic rules of ladder safety. Ladders are safe in that they're overbuilt for your weight and for what you're doing, they're unsafe in that they're easily misused. Does that make sense? It's easy to do, it's easy not to do. All right, let's talk a little bit about common accidents in the workplace. What are the number one, number two, number three causes for people to file a claim or take a day off of work because they got hurt on a ladder? Well, you'd think all of them would be from falling off, but the number one cause, the biggest number of claims that get filed are because ladders are heavy and they're awkward. And every time you take them to a job site, guess where they are? They're on the top rack above a van or above a truck, and your employees are now trying to pull the ladder off of the rack by climbing on the wheel well, the door jamb, the tailgate. Some of the most dangerous situations that they're in is trying to get their piece of safety equipment off of the truck. Know that there's ladder racks that will pivot to get that ladder into a more ergonomic position, or if you're sending a bigger ladder that you know exceeds that 50-pound limit, make sure that you've got a couple of people handy on that job site that can help get that heavier piece of equipment off. We train people to carry ladders a certain way. You can carry it by the side in kind of the suitcase method. That's easy to drop if you need to. If you've got multiple people on a bigger ladder, that's highly recommended. That's best practice. You can put your arm into the rung. Our recommendation is putting it up on your shoulder and then balancing it with the front of the ladder slightly elevated. And that way, if you trip, fall, something happens, you can let go of that ladder and it won't pull you into the accident. If you're carrying or setting up a ladder and it starts to tip, you don't have the physical strength at the bottom of a ladder with as much torque there is above you to stop that from falling. If you stick your hands in to try to stop that fall, it's just going to pull you into the accident. So we see a lot of people injured by trying to stop the ladder from falling once it goes. Let it fall. Hopefully it doesn't hit any equipment. Then re-inspect to make sure you didn't get any permanent damage, and then get somebody to help you pick it up and get it set up correctly. So number one cause of recordable injury with ladders is ladders weigh too much. So we say get two people to carry the ladder instead of one. But Little Giant made fiberglass material 20% lighter than anybody else on the market. So the way we make it here in Springville, Utah, we have our secret way of doing it, but we've reduced the wall thickness. We still keep the same extra heavy duty rating, but we're able to lighten the side rail by using engineered matting and the plastics that hold everything together. So our fiberglass ladder is lighter than everybody else's on the market. Other companies have started making lightweight ladders because they saw that people were responding to Little Giants. And we make extension ladders from 16 feet all the way up to 40 feet. And you can see the weights there. A 28-foot ladder weighs 50 pounds with Little Giant. That normally would weigh around 72 pounds or more from a grandpa extension ladder, just the traditional extension ladders on the market. Number two, and this one caught me off guard. The second leading cause of accident on a ladder doesn't happen from one of these steps. You guys that have been in the safety, my wife hates it when I use the word guys, and I think I've done that a bunch today. I apologize if I did. Everybody here that's in safety knows the answer to this question, and that is the most dangerous step or rung on a ladder is this one. Second one from the bottom. About 20% of accidents on A-frame ladders happen because people simply step off the ladder and miss that bottom step and come down on their ankles or knees. So we have people with knee injuries, back injuries, because they simply miss the bottom step. Maybe they've been using an 8-foot ladder all day long, and then they run over and use a 6-foot ladder. Well, their cadence is completely off. Maybe it's just Friday afternoon and they're trying to get off the ladder fast, and they think they're at the bottom. Well, what's the answer to that? The only purpose for that noise and that vibration on the ground cue is to condition the climber to know that the bottom step of the ladder is different than all the other steps that they're climbing. So they begin to be conditioned to say, I'm not at the bottom until I feel and hear that bottom step. Now, the third accident is I don't have the right ladder for the job. And that almost always means I took a 4-foot ladder or I took a 6-foot ladder, and when I got there, I needed an 8-foot ladder. And so I can go back to the other side of the job site and swap them out, or I can cheat. And I can go up here and hold on to something and I can get the job done safely. Again, what Little Giant's done with a lot of the products that you hear on or you see on set, they are multi-function. So my 6-foot A-frame turns into a 10-foot extension ladder. Now, if I need a couple of extra feet, I just flip up the back side. That cap now becomes a standing platform in the extension position, and there's a tool tray at the top of those back legs that are going to give me a V-bar to go to the corners and a tool tray to put all my tools in. So just ergonomically, it's the same size ladder as the 6-foot ladder you've always been using. We can just now use it differently to get the job done faster and safer, because you always have the right size ladder for the job. You don't have to kind of switch back and forth. Now, the last two are they're brothers. We've talked about these a little before, but everybody's seen extension ladders. This is really the most common ladder on a job site is a straight extension ladder. Little Giants made it lighter. Little Giants added the ground cue at the bottom. We've done a couple of other things as well. You'll notice on this ladder that the rope is not in the middle. That's where Grandpa's rope was all the time, where you climb it. We moved it to the side rail and we double pulleyed it so that that actually gives you a mechanical advantage as you go up and down. And then, most importantly, and award-winning, are the outriggers at the base of this extension ladder. For demonstration purposes, extension ladders are straight up and down. Grandpa's extension ladder, same width at the top as it is at the bottom. If you overreach at all, it's not very hard to get that ladder to come over completely. By just opening those outriggers more than doubling the width at the base, even right here in the middle of the room, I can get way out here and not tip this ladder over because I've got those outriggers that are adding that added stability and security. So out in uneven ground, gravel rocks, you deploy those outriggers, and then if the ground isn't level, I can just make one side longer, and now on my job site, I'm leveling to the work surface immediately, and then I've got that added side to side that's going to prevent the overreaching tip and fall with the leveling of those outriggers. What do I do on a bigger step ladder? That's great for an extension ladder, but what about everybody that's moving to what they call a platform ladder instead of an A-frame? Well, the complaint of those is that they're too big and heavy, they're too bulky. Check this one out, 4 inches wide, and then as this thing deploys, you'll see the engineering behind it. That handrail at the top is all tied together, and we've got these one-way gates, tool tray with compartments that lock and open in place. So that fortress is going to give you that 360 wraparound with that tool tray and the big platform to stand on. Or one of my favorites to show is the adjustable cage. So this adjustable cage can be rolled around, moved from place to place, just dropped down off of the wheels, and then climbed to the top, and you get these one-way gates that are going to lock you into this scaffolding style setup on this big standing surface. Now I'm contained with a 42-inch guardrail system on a non-conductive fiberglass base. I'm just walking through those gates. That's allowing me to just work as though I'm standing in a piece of scaffolding. Each one of those legs is going to telescope independently. So if I'm in stairs, well, I can go from 5 to 9, 1 foot at a time, or 8 all the way up to 14-foot high platform. Or in staircase, I can just adjust so that one side's longer than the other. What does this replace? Well, small set scaffolding, specialty scaffolding, scissor lifts, cherry pickers. If you need a manual lift on your job site that can easily be moved in and moved out so that the worker can work completely guardrailed, then an adjustable cage is exactly what you're looking for. I wanted to show you one last thing before we start answering questions, and that was, how far out of the box can we really go as a ladder company? Well, this one is on wheels. I don't have to pick it up. I can just move this ladder wherever I need to. Those wheels are spring-loaded, so when I step on it, the ladder drops. Or I can lock them out by just stepping on the tab and locking those out. Well, why would I need a ladder like this? What is the purpose of a rolling A-frame? Well, we designed this with a data center. People that were doing a data center, they were having to put together these manifolds that they were doing on the ground, and then they were climbing up their ladder. We gave them all of the hooks and the compartments that they needed to put all of the nuts and bolts on a work deck at the back of the ladder. This folds down so that the ladder can close in the A-frame position. But in the open position, I now have my workbench, my tailgate as it were, to put my components together, and then my ladder so that I can just move down the aisle in these data centers and get the work done. So we really can kind of customize the ladder to an industry or to a particular job to try and eliminate movements. It's funny for me to say, but if you can get the job done from the ground I know we sell ladders, but if you can get the job done from the ground, then that's going to be the best way to do it. If you have to work off of the ground, then Little Giant is trying to tweak Grandpa's ladder to make it safer by design. Ladders Last was a policy put in place because companies were tired of the ladder industry not listening. We just kept giving companies the same ladder over and over and over again and expecting them to have better safety numbers. The purpose of the Ladder Last policy was to get us to change the design, to add outriggers to extension ladders, to add cages to the top of platform ladders, to provide pieces of equipment that could adjust and safely get into all of the hard to reach places that they needed to get their work done. So what they were really saying was Grandpa's ladders last. We need the ladder industry to change and adapt. Okay, we got a lot of questions yeah, Bob, do you want to ask the questions or do you want Paxton to queue them up here in the studio?
Whichever works for you best.
Yeah, Bob, read me a couple of those questions.
Okay, yeah, let me start from the bottom. So the one you showed with the platform, they asked how heavy that was.
So the largest one we have is about 130 pounds. So that's a two-person lift getting it, 153 pounds for the big one, 130 for the middle. That's getting in and out. Once it's on the floor, it's 30 pounds of force to roll it on the wheels, and it's really no force once it's in the standing position because you're using the pop-up wheels and then it raises and lowers with a rope and pulley system similar to an extension ladder. So you can just guide that up with a rope brake that's going to allow you to raise and lower it from different heights. So it is heavy unloading it onto the floor. Once it's on the floor, it's an easy one-man operation to get it set up and raised and lowered in height or moved around on the wheels.
Yeah, here's one. I think the answer is fairly straightforward, but the ladder gate kits for podium ladders, what about the gates on there, the height of the railings? Since the height of people differ, I think yours are all at the 42-inch height that's required, but I'll let you.
Yeah, that's correct. People are at different heights, but OSHA and ANSI have just come up with that standard. It's the same with scaffolding or gates or fences around the tops of roofs. They want that to be a 42-inch height, which I know if you're really tall doesn't seem high enough, but that's kind of the fit-all rule of 42 inches. And on these cages with the gates, you'll notice that we made the gates up here so that the top of the gate is the 42. The bottom of the gate is in line with the midspan. So we're trying to keep that containment all the way around, both at the top level and at that midspan level. When you jump down to a platform ladder like a podium or a fortress, then you're only going with that guardrail around the top, and that's based on platform ladder standards where the cage for Little Giant is kind of a combination between scaffolding and ladders that we've kind of made up. So we test to both standards to make sure that we're covering the guardrail standards for scaffolding and the base passes all of the ladder standards. Sorry, that went on too long.
No, that's okay. That's good. Yeah. So what are your thoughts about keeping the waist below the top of the ladder safety rule?
Keeping your waist.
Don't go higher than your waist equivalent to the top of the ladder?
So that's a great question because it brings up another question that we get asked a lot, and that is OSHA has a very limited set of rules for ladder usage. It's not really detailed. Most big companies, most companies that take safety seriously, have their own safety procedure that supersedes the OSHA standard. But when OSHA comes in to look at your safety, they aren't judging you to the baseline, they're judging you to your standard. So if your company standard is, we really feel like you're safer if you never go above waist high instead of, well, the alternative is I'm not supposed to use these two rungs. So you're saying my 6-foot ladder, I should only stand 2 feet off the ground, where OSHA says I can stand 4 feet off the ground, and now I have to keep my balance with my knees. It is way more comfortable and way safer to keep the waist high rule. The flip side of that is, remember what I said the number one cause of injury or recordable on a ladder is ladders way too much. So if you're recommending that somebody take a 10-foot step ladder to stand 4 feet off the ground, they're now carrying way more ladder than they would. So you're increasing the odds of the number one cause of injury. So there's a lot of arguments back and forth when we talk about ladder safety. We could build the safest ladder. Seriously, we're working on anti-gravity. That's going to be the best. But we could build the most bulletproof ladder on the planet, and we would never sell one because it would weigh so much and cost so much, but nobody would ever be able to fall from it. So we have to kind of gauge what is the exposure, what is the... my favorite is don't get on a ladder. If you can do it, use a step stool instead of a step ladder. Now, step stools are a lot of times looked at as a homeowner product because the box stores have kind of cheapened them up, and you can get, the $19 special at Black Friday or something like that. Little Giant we have made for the last 50 years, this is one of our best-selling products, a product called the Jumbo. And the Jumbo comes in aluminum and fiberglass, and it is basically a portable staircase. So it has the same run of a staircase and the same ability to just walk up and down it. My favorite part of it is, as a portable staircase, I can put this against the tailgate of my truck, and now instead of doing the old man jump that I'm going to hurt my knees, I can just use it as this portable staircase in and out. But if you're doing any interior work, any work where you just need to be 3 or 4 feet off the ground, I recommend using a step stool instead of a step ladder, and that's going to give you really that waist-high support and foot support at the same time on a traditional A-frame ladder. That's one of the arguments to go to a platform, because you're going to go fully supported here, but waist high on your support at the top. The platform ladders really have the advantage of there isn't a top run to cheat on, right? We're taking away the temptation for people to go higher on the ladder than they should by just giving them a platform ladder that doesn't have a rung. Next question. What do we got?
Okay. On the Little Giant Epic ladder, is it has handrails that extend past the roof for easier transition on and
Yes,
off the ladder. Do the handrails count as 3 feet above the roof line?
yes,
Okay. That was quick,
yes. So,
quick answer.
so, so those, yeah, those telescope up. You can use those sideways as standoffs. That's our engineers put all the bells and whistles on that. So the same rails that go up and down also go sideways if you're going around a window. But as you're going up onto the roof, that does count as a walkthrough. That is one of the most useful accessories in industry, is a walkthrough at the top of your ladder. It's so comfortable to transition on and off if you've got those handrails that allow you to just walk directly onto the job. Okay.
So is there well, here's one. If a step is broken, or do you have repair services for that?
There's a third-party company called Batavia that goes out and services big fleets of ladders, like for AT&T or Comcast or Spectrum. But for the average user, we don't recommend changing steps or rungs in the field, mostly because the tools to set the rivets aren't readily accessible, and if the rivets get set too hard, then they will crush the fiberglass, and so rungs are damaged or side rail are damaged. I think that's a 100% cause for removing the ladder from service and getting a new one. Components damaged, we can get those replaced for you just by calling the 800 number. But side rails and rungs, we just want to stay away from that because it's just too much factory machinery that had to put that together a certain way. We can't replicate that with a pair of pliers and a hammer out in the field.
Yeah. Do you have a recommendation for a specific ladder for getting into and out of manholes?
We do. Paxton, can you pull up a manhole ladder? Manholes are really tricky because that, you know why manholes are round, by the way? You can't drop a manhole through the hole. That if you have a square cover, it can drop down to the bottom, but that circular manhole can't drop through that hole. That's the trivia for the day. Yeah, we do make a thinner manhole style ladder, but it's in components. So you can, the depth of those vaults vary, and so you can use those in a 4 or an 8 or in combinations together to get up to, I think, a 16-foot or 20-foot ladder in combinations. But you don't have to have 10 feet of ladder sticking out the top all the time if you're going into a short vault, because you can take those apart.
Yeah. Are there places that you can have people cut up the ladder for you?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, we have the advantage of just having a scrap saw in the building, but bang it up, dent it up, or take it straight to the dump. Just don't leave it on the top of a dumpster where somebody can see it, grab it. We were on a photo shoot with the National Association of Home Builders, and we threw a guy's ladder away in the dumpster because it was just slob all over. I just threw it in the dumpster and said, yeah, let's get a different ladder. And half an hour later, a different crew drove by with that ladder in their trailer. So people hang on to old beat up ladders like crazy. I don't know what the pole is, but never climb a damaged ladder. You just don't know what it's rated for. And the falls are so catastrophic that just spend the money, go out and get a new ladder. They're lighter, they're more versatile, they do more things. They're got this cool high-vis green color, so show up on the job site with the coolest tools on the site. You want to be the coolest guy there. So
You got it. Are there certain types of chemical cleaners that would compromise the integrity of the fiberglass if you use them to clean the ladders?
um, you wouldn't want to use an acetone on fiberglass resin, but most of the basic cleaners are okay. We do recommend for like moving parts on an extension ladder or hinged parts for multi-purpose ladders, a dry silicone lubricant. Surprisingly enough, on ladders that we demo at trade shows, we use a furniture polish called Endust that comes in a yellow can that you can get at Walmart or Target, that makes your ladder move really smoothly. Word of caution, don't spray the rungs of your ladder with any kind of cleaner or silicone, I should say, any kind of lubricant. Scrub those rungs down, make sure that the tread's there, but make sure they're not slippery, and make sure that while you were spraying your ladder, you didn't create a big slippery spot on the ground underneath you, because we've actually had that happen as well.
Yeah, so they added a question about the sticker option on ladders. Especially when they're used in construction, they get damaged very quickly.
So Paxton, pull up our sticker pictures there. In inspection, we want to make sure that the stickers are legible. The most important sticker is the one that says what the weight rating is, but we want you to have all of the safety information. And a thing that the ladder industry has done, where we really kind of copied the European market, was we've moved all of the informational stickers to the inside of the rail. So the only thing on the outside now is going to be branding, where the inside of the rail is going to have all of your safety labels. That hopefully is going to protect those a little bit better from getting scraped off as they go in and out of the truck. Ladder companies will send you replacement labels if you just call and let them know what model ladder it is. That's something that we didn't used to do, but they will do it now. So make sure that your labels are legible, so that you don't get thrown off a job site. Some GCs will get picky about that and tell you to take your ladders off until you get the labels replaced. I have heard people say that the first thing they do when they get a new ladder is they go over the label with clear packing tape, and then the clear packing tape gets messed up instead of the label. But just little tricks that people have told me over the years.
Do you need fall protection once you are 4 or 6 or 10 or 15 feet off the ground while on a ladder?
The way the standard is written, in the walking working surface, if you're 4 feet off the ground, you have to have fall protection, or 6 feet in the 1926, unless you're on a ladder. The ladder is your fall protection. So if you're climbing a ladder, according to the standard, you can climb a 40-foot long extension ladder without being tied off, as long as you're maintaining 3 points of contact and the ladder is set up correctly. Company policies may differ from the OSHA, but the basic OSHA policy states it exempts ladders from the need to be tied off. We definitely don't want you tied off to the ladder, because then when you fall, you're just taking the ladder into that pile with you. And we don't want you to have to figure out where to tie off to 20 feet above you so that you can climb 4 feet off the ground. So according to the standard, ladders are exempt from tie-off. Your company policy might have a different interpretation of that.
Yeah. Here's one. I'll let you take it, but I can answer it as well. But can you use a step stool on a gantry crane platform?
Bob, you answer that one for me.
Yeah. If you do anything, then you go above the protection rails, then you're going to be in violation. So, yeah.
We actually make a 2-foot version of this, which you think would be ridiculous. So it's one step and then the platform, just because Disney World has these patios that have lights around the edge, but to get to those lighting fixtures, you would go above the handrail.
Right.
So their ladder has to take the handrail above that handrail to keep them safe, always having the proper handrail when you work.
Yeah, I know you addressed this, Dave, but it talks about, when you're ascending or descending a ladder, you have to keep both hands on the ladder.
Yeah.
So is it best to have your hands on the side rails or the rungs or steps of the ladder?
That is an age-old argument. I've been on thousands of job sites over the last 40 years, and the majority of people who climb ladders for a living climb ladders with their hands going up the side rails. That just seems to be the way. If I ever see somebody on a job site holding on to the rungs, it only really works on an extension ladder to go rung by rung. Because on a step ladder, you're now grabbing on these big wide steps, and it really is more comfortable to go side rail. But almost always I see on jobs, there isn't a OSHA rule. I know if anybody in the safety world is familiar with Nigel Ellis, Nigel's done a lot of papers on if you're falling from a ladder, you have more grip strength holding on to a rung or a step than you do the side rail. But as the common practice, 90% of the people I see climbing ladders use the side rails to maintain balance and control. It really takes focus to do 3 points of contact, especially when you're a professional tradesperson and you do it all the time. To keep those points of contact, you really have to slow down and pay attention and be careful. So probably time for one more question, and then
Okay, so yeah, let's get one more here. I think the answer to this one you can answer. Does Little Giant supply ladder inspection checklists for the different types of ladders? Then is it provided when it's shipped, or is it available on your website?
So every ladder that Little Giant ships has a QR code on it. And if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the page that will give you your inspection checklist, your parts lists, and your how-to videos. So that's a unique thing to Little Giant, is we have a barcode right on all of the products or a QR code that you can just scan and with your phone, and it'll take you right to the training or the inspection sheets. The app that we recommended earlier in the presentation, the NIOSH app, that's a tutorial. It doesn't actually keep track of the information. It just gives you a tutorial. There's 3 or 4 companies on the market that sell inspection software that not only walks you through it, but makes record of it, and then keeps charts and graphs. If you want to go the extra mile with your ladder inspections, you can scan each ladder, and it will record all of the answers to that. Bob, in the UTA, you have been platinum partners in supporting Ladder Safety Month. We appreciate your support and your desire to keep everybody safe. I hope that you learned something from today, that we were a little bit entertaining, but that you at least recognize the dangers of something as simple as a ladder. It isn't unsafe as a product. It's basic and easy to be misused. So we misuse the product and make it unsafe, but it's overbuilt as a product for what it's designed for. So follow the basic rules, don't get creative, never overreach. That's the number one rule. And I always like to go out on these with my favorite Jackie Chan how-to training video. This is about 10 seconds of everything not to do with your ladder from our friend Jackie Chan, who buys Little Giant ladders for his studios. We appreciate that. But do not do this at home. And Paxton, take a bow in the control room. He's the one that makes all this happen. Bob, thank you so much. Anything you have in closing?
No, Dave, thank you and your crew for an excellent presentation as always. We appreciate all the work you do, and I'm always amazed at the innovations and the technology. That we've come a long way in ladders, so it's always interesting to see. And thank
We're
you
not,
to
we're
all
not
our
grandpa's ladders anymore.
no, they're not. And thank you to all our participants that joined us today. We appreciate you and wish you all a safe and happy weekend. Thanks, Dave.
Climb safe, be safe.